and I'm excited, to be a part of this team.
And the way Coach Jerome was done back there,
Yeah, for sure, it's a respect thing. I know a lot of people want the content. I know I'm a producer, so I never want to make anybody feel, any type of way about anything. So it was important that he gets everything he needs to say out and everybody captures what he has, and then now, I'm here.
The NFL is reeling from the shocking revelation made by the Cleveland Browns insider. It's already possible that Shedeur Sanders will be traded before the first week. While everyone's attention has been on Kenny Pickett's hamstring injury, there has been a subtle but significant change at Browns training camp that raises major concerns about Sanders' future. Dan Griciano of ESPN believes a quarterback will be traded, and it's becoming very evident who Cleveland has in mind for the future. When you look at the practice reps that are being distributed, Coach Prime's son may be packing his bag sooner rather than later, and you'll be astounded by the reasons why. Look, I have years of experience covering this league, and believe me when I say that what's taking place in Berea isn't your average competitiveness at a training camp. This chess game is computed. Additionally, Shedeur Sanders may be the one sacrificed. Are you curious as to how I know? Allow me to explain what occurs behind closed doors. Let's start by discussing what everyone is lacking. Although this alleged four-way quarterback contest has garnered a lot of media attention, people with knowledge of the matter tell me it's more like two distinct competitions taking place at the same time. The worst part is still to come. Even the main event does not include Shedeur. Consider it. The Browns' decision to choose two quarterbacks in the same class was not made at random. Guys, it isn't typical NFL conduct. Teams engage in that behavior as a means of hedging their wagers. Furthermore, one of those wagers is going to be cashed out early. Sanders only completed 3 of his 18 drill throws at the Browns' first training camp session, according to the most recent reports from only a few days ago. Dillon Gabriel, meanwhile, has been steadily increasing his playing time with the starting offense. But here's where it gets really intriguing. On Saturday, Kenny Pickett sustained a hamstring injury, and you know what occurred right after? Sanders wasn't immediately promoted by the coaching staff to receive additional first experience. Rather, they have been switching between Joe Flacco and Gabriel for those coveted places. That ought to provide you with all the information you want on Sanders' position in the pecking order. I understand your thoughts, but he is the son of Coach Prime. That must be significant in some way. And you're quite correct to hold that opinion. Within the football community, the Sanders name is respected. However, this is the topic that no one is discussing. Shedeur Sanders' last name prevented the Browns from selecting him in the draft. They selected him as a 5th-round pick, which, in NFL parlance, indicates they saw him as upside's developing project rather than an instant contributor. Allow me to give you an accurate account of the events that have been taking place during training camp. 2 days earlier, several sources claimed that before his injury, Kenny Pickett had been getting the most first-team reps. It makes sense. The coaching staff was leaning toward Pickett being the starter, as ESPN's Dan Griciano had projected. Here's the smoking gun though. Reporters who have been following quarterback performance have often observed that Gabriel is receiving more significant snaps than Sanders. One insider described the circumstances. Gabriel was probably chosen by Cleveland because of his potential as a long-term backup. On the 3rd day, however, Sanders started to make sense as a low-risk wager. According to NFL executives, Gabriel is the person we genuinely wish to cultivate. Sanders only served as a lottery ticket, and let's face it, is a numbers game. That isn't viable for quarterbacks on an NFL roster. Teams usually carry no more than 2 or 3. Gabriel and Sanders are vying for what may be just one roster place, as Pickett is anticipated to start when healthy, and Joe Flacco offers experienced dependability. And that fight isn't even close, judging by what we're witnessing in camp.
star for
your entire life. So how difficult is it to be patient, as you said, waiting for your turn?
I'll say it's different phases in life. Different things in life you have to go through, you know, and that's all it is. I'll say for me, it's building blocks. You know, sometimes I always had to get overly prepared and had to worry about a lot of different things.
But here's where the Shedeur.
However, this is where the Shedeur Sanders narrative takes off, and I genuinely believe that dealing with him might be the Browns' worst move ever. Yes, you heard correctly. Sanders has been coping with something that Gabriel hasn't, while everyone else is concentrating on his early hardships in camp there and ignoring the wider situation. The enormous attention that comes with being the son of Coach Prime. Every throw he makes is closely examined. Every error is exaggerated. However, if you listen to the film of recent sessions, you'll notice bursts of skill that remind you why he was regarded as one of the best college football quarterbacks. Despite not receiving many first-team reps, insiders stated that Sanders really made an impression on day 4 of camp. He hasn't had many first-team reps, but it hasn't affected his work ethic, according to one reporter. That is precisely the mindset you are looking for in a rookie quarterback. Sanders is working hard and preparing for his time, whereas some rookies would complain about having few opportunities. And let's take a moment to discuss that particular instance. With Pickett now out due to a hamstring injury, Sanders will have a fantastic chance to demonstrate his abilities with a stronger supporting cast. On August 8th, the Browns will play their first preseason game versus Carolina. And all of this trade discussion may vanish in an instant if Sanders lights it up on stage. The experts aren't taking into account this additional factor. Sanders' skill set could be more in line with the Browns' long-term offensive goals. Gabriel contributes precision and judgment. Don't get me wrong, they are admirable traits, but Sanders adds a certain something that cannot be taught. The ability to make throws that most quarterbacks just cannot, the pocket presence, and the arm skill. Recall that during his final collegiate season, this quarterback passed for nearly 4,000 yards and 37 touchdowns. Simply switching to a new system doesn't mean that production stops. The Browns coaching staff is aware that Sanders has received accolades for his football IQ and leadership abilities, in contrast to other rookies who find it difficult to handle the cerebral side of the NFL game. They are handling this rivalry with extreme caution because of this. They are aware that it will come back to haunt them for years if they move Sanders too soon, and he goes on to become a star somewhere. Conversely, they appear to be geniuses if they retain him and he turns into their franchise quarterback, while Gabriel establishes himself as a reliable backup. However, the truth behind all of these trade speculations is as follows. NFL teams are always inquiring about available quarterbacks, particularly those who are young and have potential. Additionally, the trade market for Sanders may be stronger than. Consider it from the viewpoint of a different team. You get a quarterback who has a strong track record in college, strong metrics, and a natural competitive spirit. All for presumably only a mid-round selection. For many franchises, that is obvious. And this is where the Browns are in a really difficult situation. Their fan base would never forgive them if they traded Sanders and he went on to become a star somewhere else. However, they will come under fire for keeping him for sentimental reasons rather than for making the right financial choice if he never grows. It is impossible to overestimate the cascading effects of Pickett's damage. The depth chart appeared to be rather apparent before his injury. Pickett will start, Flacco will be the seasoned backup, and Gabriel and Sanders will compete for the third slot or the opportunity to play in the practice squad. Now, however, everything is uncertain. The timing of this issue adds to its intrigue. The Browns must begin resolving their quarterback dilemma as the first preseason game approaches in less than 2 weeks. The league's teams are keeping a close eye on Cleveland because they know that a move must be made quickly. Given the way the Browns have organized their training camp activities, the writing may already be on the wall. Sanders and Gabriel have both reportedly been completing repetitions during team and individual drills, but there has been a discernible difference in the caliber of those repetitions. Sanders has been working more with the scout squad and third stringers, while Gabriel has been working more with the offenses of the first and second teams. The Browns coaching staff would likely explain that this is only a component of their assessment procedure. They wish to observe how the two rookies respond to various circumstances. However, seasoned NFL watchers are aware that a player's rep distribution throughout training camp typically provides a decent indication of their position on the depth chart. Here's the twist, though, that nobody is discussing. What if Sanders is indeed being shown by the Browns as a possible trade candidate? Consider it. You want other clubs to watch a player in action if you're attempting to move him. He should be given the chance to demonstrate his abilities without being promoted ahead of individuals you intend to retain. That would explain why, despite seeming to be lower on the depth chart, Sanders has been receiving regular reps. Before making a decision, the Browns may be providing prospective trading partners an opportunity to meet with him in person. Let's also be truthful about another matter. Sanders is under heat from more than just the Cleveland rivals. It stems from the heritage he is attempting to uphold. Every practice, every throw, and every choice becomes amplified when your dad is Dillon Sanders and publicly supports your NFL aspirations. Most rookies never have to deal with that sort of pressure. But what do you know? Perhaps it's precisely that pressure that sets him up for success at the next level. Throughout his time in college, Sanders has had to contend with the media's attention and high expectations. He is capable of managing the limelight and performing well under pressure. The true question is whether the Browns will value quick outcomes or have the patience to wait for that potential to materialize. The front office is likely pressuring the team to make snap judgments rather than long-term investments because the team has been looking for quarterback consistency for decades. Here's what I believe will actually occur, and you might be surprised. Sanders is not traded by the Browns before the first week, in my opinion. All four quarterbacks, in my opinion, are retained through the preseason. Observe the course of events, and then base their choice on performance rather than conjecture. Why? Since NFL executives detest having to swiftly confess faults, selling a rookie quarterback after only a few training camp sessions would be an admission of a draft error. Plus, they need the depth now because of Pickett's injury, which is causing concern. However, I could see them making a trade if Sanders stumbles in the preseason games, if he doesn't demonstrate the growth they're hoping for, or if other teams begin to make alluring offers. This is the bottom line. Shedeur Sanders may not even be aware that he is now fighting for his NFL career. Whether he becomes a franchise quarterback in Cleveland, or just another what-if tale after being sent away too soon, might be decided in the coming weeks. What are your thoughts? If the Browns move Sanders, will they be committing a grave error? Or is this simply the way things work in the NFL, where the strongest people make it? Please share your opinions in the comments section below. Additionally, as we will be constantly monitoring this story as it progresses, make sure you have subscribed. Things are going to become really intriguing in this quarterback race. You won't want to miss what comes next, I promise. You'll want to be the first to know every detail when this deal really occurs, which I have a hunch will happen, so click the subscribe button and enable alerts. This is only the start of what could turn out to be the most spectacular quarterback tale of the